Good morning, gardeners. Today we're making biscuits and gravy. Let's get on to it. To make biscuits and gravy, it's very simple. It involves butter, my favorite ingredient of all time according to my wife, and we're going to use some sausage. Today I'm just using some Jimmy Dean's. Get the sausage of your choice. We need flour and milk to do this. A little bit of baking soda, baking powder as well, and a little bit of sugar. So we'll go step by step. Let's get on it. The first thing I'm going to do is, I'm going to do about 1/3 of a pound of sausage. So I'll go ahead and I'm just going to fry that up, and we're going to set it aside. So now that my sausage, I shut the heat off. My sausage is done. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just take the sausage and actually put it to the side, because we're going to make gravy. We're going to make gravy with our pan. So we'll just leave that to the side and we'll add it to our gravy here in a minute. So to make biscuits, and what I do is I go ahead and I want to go ahead and take my flour, and we're going to use 2 cups of flour. So let's get that. There's kind of a little bit of a discussion when it comes to making biscuits, that you shouldn't just dip the cup right in and pack it in and all of that. What I do is so the idea being is that's a packed in flour. So what people suggest you do is you just take another device and you fill it extra here, and there we go. A little bit more. You a little overheat it. Now I'm going to want some of this flour on this counter. But you can go ahead. It ain't going to hurt for it to land on it. I'll just let it land. But then you use your knife and you go ahead and that's it. And then you put that in. So that's what I've read by many people. If you want to just go ahead, as I'm going to do right now, and go ahead and just dip it in. Just make sure you have level cups. That's the main thing. That's up to you. You do what you want to do on that. Just want to show you what some different folks believe. All right, so now I have the 2 cups of flour. The next thing I want to do, and this to me is very important. I want to go in there now with a 1/2 teaspoon of my baking soda, and go with a 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. I'm going to go in here with a 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder. And the next thing I want to do is I'm going to add a little bit of salt to, there's my salt. I'm going to add a pinch of salt to this. Put a pinch of salt, and I'm going to take a tablespoon of sugar. And I'm going to put that in. Now I'm just going to go ahead and stir all of this up. Do this first. This is the very first thing we need to do. If you forget to add the baking powder soda till later, from my experience, is you'll end up with a bitter tasting biscuit. Now why that is, I couldn't tell you, but that's what it is. You don't want that. So I have all that together. We'll let that, no, not really sit, but there we have it all together. So let's go there. The next thing we need to have, and this is again my favorite part of biscuits and gravy, and that's the butter. So we need 4 tablespoons of butter, so 1/2 stick of butter. And so what I'll do we need to cut it into our, and I'm not using a machine, I just use my hands. They're clean, they're washed. And I just break off, or I just cut off little chunks of butter. And then I will work them, I will knead them into the flour. And I need one more tablespoon of butter. There we go. And if you want to cut them into smaller pieces to help further break them up, that's your call. You can do that. And that way you're not kneading in such big chunks. So let's get on with it. So just go ahead and really cut that flour, or that butter, into the flour. This is our fat that goes into it. That's how I do it. And it's a very simple recipe, very simple. But you got to really work it to where it's a nice crumbly flour. If you have a machine and your machine can do it, that's great. But this is just a simple little process here. Is every biscuit that I do perfect and all of that? Probably not. But you know, they taste good and they raise. So I'm happy about that. This is a very good recipe. Especially if you're short of ingredients. So let's keep going here, and we'll get that done. Yeah, you just cut it. You can feel it. And it just come out of the refrigerator. Don't try to melt it. That was in my earlier days. That's pretty good. So now that we have the butter cut into the flour, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 1 cup of milk, and I'll pour that in. That's done. If you have a whisk, go ahead and whisk it in. I'm going to use a fork. This is all you have to really do. You don't have to, and if it needs a little flour, you know, if it's a little too wet still, then just sprinkle a little flour in. We don't want paste. And this is a little bit, so I'm just going to take a little flour. And you're going to want flour on your hand, because when we're going to pull this out, we got to mix all this up. We're going to start working our dough. And the thing about biscuit making, from everything I've read, is not to overwork the dough. So we don't need to keep hammering it. Okay. And set these aside. Let me go ahead and sprinkle a little of this flour on the counter, because that's going to be important. This is where we're going to work it. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead, and I think I got everything done. And definitely want to start out with some flour on your hands. If you don't, the dough's going to stick to it. So go ahead, get it in there, get it on, and we'll add some flour as needed. And we will get this stiffened up. Start flattening it out and start folding it over. This is how we're going to get nice, flaky. I'll move the camera over here. Let me stand over here. So we're going to go ahead with our dough. And like I said, if you feel a little bit of stickiness, just put a little flour on it. And just fold it over. See how that's kind of sticky right there? Let's get a little bit of flour. Yeah, I see it wanting to stick, so let's move that out. And yep, it was a little wet. So we'll go ahead and just add a little flour as needed. firm it up. And so you want to flatten it out. And, got a little bit more. Just flatten it out and fold it over. The dough will start getting pretty resistant and not wanting to flatten. That's about the time I kind of stop it. And there we go. And this is going to give us all of those wonderful layers. Just a little bit. This is what's going to give us that nice, big, high-rising biscuit. Fold it back and repeat. That's pretty good. That's looking pretty good. Now what I'm going to do is I don't want to have this so flat that what's the right phrase? I don't want to really mash it down like a steamroller. I want a little distance in there. That'll give us a nice rising biscuit. I guess we're probably looking at about 3/8 to a 1/2 inch right here. But we're ready to cut our biscuit. And you just pick out the size of biscuit cutter that suits you. I go with the size below the largest in my cutters, my cookie cutters or whatever. And we're going to need to get a grease pan. We need to get our pan grease, and I just use a simple Vegeline spray, not sponsored, not anything like that. And I'm going to go ahead and preheat my oven to 425 degrees. You do want to cook biscuits at a higher temperature. So let's go ahead and get our pan ready. We're going to start cutting biscuits. So I'll just go ahead here. Put my nose stick Vegeline on. And the oven's preheating. Let's go ahead next and cut our biscuits. So again, this is fairly thick. It's about a 1/2 inch in thickness. Go ahead and just start cutting your biscuits. Utilizing all the dough you can. And the nice thing about having a biscuit cutter, and I'll peel this away. The nice thing about a biscuit cutter is it gives sharp edges, which does help your biscuits raise properly. So I'll go ahead and set these on to, and when I go to put them on, I want to make sure these are tight and that they're touching. So each of those kind of like growing trees in the woods, you want to have your trees. If you really want nice straight tree trunks, you want to go ahead and make sure the trees are in the early stages are planted fairly narrow, and then as they get older, you start thinning them out. So here is our remaining dough. Let's go ahead and kind of push that together, work it together, and push it out. Feel a little bit, just more on my hand. I'm not even going to put it on the, there we go. And you see I use a spatula to help get it off because it is a little sticky. Go ahead there. And I think sometimes that the dough that doesn't come up very well, or the biscuits don't come up very well, could very well be from, and you can see the nice layers already on these biscuits. But just keep putting them in here nice and tight. And then we'll continue to work this dough. There's probably 2 biscuits worth in here. Or at least one good biscuit and one bad biscuit. How about that? but we're all going to get it used. I'll fold that over one more time. Cut me one biscuit right out of the middle. And this guy's probably going to be lopsided, as we can see. That's okay. Yeah, it's still going to taste like a biscuit. This one I'm just going to do my best to form it into a biscuit. Fold it over to give it some air layers. Let's call that good. Yep, and no reason to cut it. This one's going to come up kind of lopsided because of the fold, but that's all right. We got it right there. We'll just stick it in right there. So, right now we're just going to go ahead and wait for the oven to preheat. Once these biscuits go in, we'll be done. Oh, there's one other thing I want to do. Is I'm going to go and take some egg white and we're going to wash the tops of these. We're going to make them a nice brown biscuit. So let's do that real quick. Let's make them look pretty. So now I have just some egg white here. And let's just go ahead and put some of that egg white right here on top of our biscuits. It'll make them a nice... Oh, I tipped it over. I'm going to have scrambled eggs underneath of them. Oh, well. That's funny. I tipped over the eggs.
You have a cooked egg in the middle.
I'm going to have a cooked egg in the middle. That's hilarious. I said I'm making breakfast. Anyway, very good. Maybe I didn't say, but there we go. These ought to be the brownest eggs from top to bottom. They ought to be the brownest egg. I tipped that thing over to win. That's funny. All right, so there they are. Nice and glistening, top and bottom. So anyway, we'll go ahead and get going. As soon as we that oven gets to 425, we'll put them in, and then we're going to start our gravy. So our oven has hit 425. We're going to set our biscuits on the middle rack in the oven, and we're going to set the timer for 15. Now your oven might be a little different. Start looking at them at 13 minutes and see from there. Let's, you know, I have noticed that in my life that the oven temperatures do seem to vary a little bit. So don't let it burn, right? So all right, we're going to make our biscuits, and we are going to go ahead, or we're going to make our. We're going to make our gravy. So what we're going to do is we're going to take 2 cups of milk. And let's pour that in our saucepan. There we go. I can set that aside. Then we're going to take a half a stick of butter. Again, it's my favorite. According to my wife, it is my favorite cooking thing. So we're going to take a half a stick of butter, and there we go. And we're going to melt that in our skillet. I'm going to right now put it on high just to get everything heated up, and then I'm going to be reducing the heat down to medium. There we go. So while that is occurring, let's go ahead and at least understand the rules of making a good gravy. The rules that I understand anyway. So to make a good gravy, you can go with hot to cold or cold to hot to make a good gravy. So this is going to be hot. This is going to be right at that simmering level. You don't want milk to boil, but I'm going to get it up to that little where it starts to turn, so it's hot. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a flour, a cold flour and milk mixture, and we're going to pour that into the hot. So when we do that, then I'm going to turn the heat up and we're going to stir it. It's going to turn into a nice gravy for us. So let's go ahead and get that measurement done. That is funny about flour and making this part of it. I've never actually used a measuring device. So we're going to that'll be the first time that I have personally, that I will have personally ever measured my flour for that. So let's just go ahead. I'm gonna grab I usually just toss it into my pan. I'm gonna take a quarter cup of a quarter cup measuring spoon here, and I'm gonna grab a quarter cup of flour. And if it's a little less, that's okay. But I think a quarter cup's about right. We're gonna dump that into our bowl, which I just did. Dump that in there, and I'm gonna pour in some milk. I'm not gonna measure this. I just need enough milk to get it all mixed in. Yeah, this container's all, that's fine. We're gonna just mix it in. If you have a whisk, you can use the whisk here. I don't have a whisk, I just use my fork. Try to be a person of very simplistic needs. And we're gonna mix that flour and that cold milk, and get rid of any lumps, all that stuff. So this here is done. Right there, we'll stir it right before we insert it into our melted butter and milk. Let's get back to that and do a little seasoning over there. So we'll go ahead, and this is just the milk and the butter. This is us making our gravy, kind of getting that stirred in. And let's go ahead and add some salt. This is, go light, I guess you could say, at this stage. Remember, our sausage has pepper in it. So you got to be a little careful with adding too much pepper at this stage. I just lightly peppered it, and I added some salt to it. Stirring that pot, getting that, see, notice how the butter's pretty well melted now. And I'm gonna add a little bit more salt. There we go. We'll call that good right now. And we're gonna let that start to come to a little bit of a froth. You can see that I have still 10 minutes out of the 15 on there. So this is very easily done while your biscuits are cooking in the oven. So notice how the milk is starting to want to shimmy a little bit, and that's okay. I'm going to bring it up. Actually, I'm going to keep it on high, and I'll show you why. Because we're getting ready to add that cold milk over here. Remember, this is what we mixed up with the milk and the flour. So it's ready. That's our thickening agent. So this is starting to shimmy. I'm going to give it a little bit more. And then that looks good. Now that that's shimmying, I'm going to take our flour milk mixture. I'll set this over here. Now that's done. It's time to just start. It's already thickening already. Keep it on high for the time being, and it will all, and just keep, and I'm just using my spatula and kind of mashing it out, but now it will thicken into a very nice gravy here, going back and forth. And again, I'm leaving it on high for the time being. If anything gets thick, just kind of mash it down. Don't let it clump. And this is going to be into a wonderful gravy here very quickly. Nice and thick. You see how it's wanting to kind of bubble a little bit? I will go ahead and I will turn the heat down in a minute. But right now, that is thickening really, really nice. Making a wonderful gravy. I'll go ahead right now. Let's turn it down to about a little bit less than medium. We don't want to scald our milk. And just keep thickening. That's going to be a nice gravy. Yeah, it's going to be a good gravy. Nice butter flavors in it. Nice. And we still have 7 minutes to go on our biscuits, so we have plenty of time here. Everything is coming on nice. Just letting it thicken up. Now we got it definitely bubbling. I'm gonna turn it down to low. We have a very nice gravy going. Let's do ourselves a favor and let's go ahead and start incorporating our sausage. Get that on there. There we go. Start stirring that in. Now you know what you like. If you like to add other things to your sausage, if you like to have, you know, peppers or onions or whatever, I don't know where you're part of the country. You can certainly add some of that in there. For us, it's just simply sausage and gravy. You could go without any gravy if you want. Look at how nice that is. Oh, that's good. Yeah, I'm going to test this. I'm going to put some of this gravy over here and set that spoon aside, and I'm going to test this, see what it tastes like. It's good. Needs a little more salt. I think the pepper is where it needs to be to keep me married to my wife. So I think we're good there. But get some more salt in it. There we go. Just got that stirred in. This is nice. This is a really nice gravy. Yeah. It's nice and thick. You know, it's funny, I've just never measured the amount of gravy that I've ever, or the flour I've ever done. But we have a really nice gravy as it sticks to that spoon. Look at that. So if you're making any type of a sauce, I think that's kind of the formula there to do that. You know, whether you're working with a thick celery soup or something along that line, I think this type of a method works in that manner. Matter of fact, I hope to be making some celery soup this year and canning it, but we'll see how I do. But I do want it thick. The only problem I got is I can't do dairy, so I haven't figured out the recipe yet. We'll figure that one out after a bit. We have 3 minutes to go. We'll come back to it here in just a minute. Well, looks like it's done. Well, there we have it. My biscuits are completed. They are separating, and I even have a little bit of cooked egg where it washed out. But no, look at that. Got a nice biscuit here. Come on up. Gave us a nice raise. If you want more layers, you just need to go ahead and, you know, these are good. Look at that. Really nice. Really nice. Look, it's getting some separation there. You can add more layers to your biscuit, but that's a good looking biscuit. We'll go ahead and serve Delia here. See what she thinks. How's it look, Delia?
Looks good. I like the golden top on your biscuits.
You like the golden top, even with the added egg to it?
It
isn't too bad.
A little bit more protein.
A little more protein. So anyway, how's it taste? I want your opinion.
Very good.
Very good.
I'll give you an A.
I got an A. All right, folks, if you like these types of videos, do us a favor, hit that like and subscribe. Come grow with us. When you do crack the biscuits over, They do have a nice flaky crust inside, and I think you're going to enjoy this dish. If you're just kind of a novice cook, this is at least a good starting point for you to actually get to a point where you can do them better than me, which is not going to take very much, but I believe that you will enjoy that. So anyway, there we have it. Biscuits and gravy, done probably within a 30-minute period.